You are listening to the Knightline Sports Network, brought to you by Travis Dever and the Dever team, 386-690-1636.
Knightline is brought to you by the Dever team, your source for New Smyrna Beach real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Go to www.thedeverteam.com and call UCF alumni Travis Dever for all your New Smyrna Beach needs. 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636.
Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
All right, hello Night Nation. This is Andrew Fegley coming to you from the 1148 studios, and this is Knightline 286 from the award-winning Knightline Sports Network. Joining me as always,
Trey Neal.
And Roger Phipps. And on this week's show, T won't. Changes at the top of the offense and defense. The early bird gets the worm on early signing day. Previewing Duke in the Frozen Military Bowl, we conduct our Hoops Rewind, a brief tribute to fallen knights, the Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week, and news and notes.
Alrighty, well, it has been quite the ride since the last time we spoke. Lots of things going on in Night Nation. Transfers and transfer coordinators and transfers coming in, going out. Early signing day coming up. Tomorrow, actually, right? Tomorrow,
yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
21st.
I can't wait. I'm glad that is, it's here. I'm glad, because I hate the whole thing. I love it, but I hate it at the same time, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of, like, the whole recruiting and, but it's time. We've been hearing about a lot of these guys since, before the season started, and, respect my opinion or respect my decision, and over and over and over. I'm just tired of it. So I'm ready for it to end. I know that there's another National Signing Day, later on, but this one seems like it's the one these days. Been some exciting news. I guess we'll go through some of those. First, though, I did want to recognize a couple, and you said it in the intro, a couple of Knights and Hall of Fame, and as far as my mind goes, college football coach lost Mike Leach this last week, which Coach Leach is one of my favorite coaches ever. Not only for the system that he ran and everything else, but just the dude was one of the most entertaining people, period. And in my opinion, the world is a worse place since he's not in it anymore. So also, of course, Jake Hescock and Mike Merritt, both UCF Knights, former players. Jake Hescock not too long ago, just last year, the year before. He was running, I guess. Fell down, had cardiac arrest, and he did not come out of that. Mike Merritt in a car accident. So prayers to for those guys and to their families. You guys can say whatever you would like about that as well. I just wanted to say it off the top.
Yeah, I mean, just life is short, and I think it just, it puts into perspective of what really matters. We get on this show and we talk and we have fun, and we bash some people a little bit with reason, but, at the end of the day, we just care. And I think, in moments like these, you should, let people know what you really care about. It's bigger than football. It's bigger than any sport. It's about those relationships, and that's really what it's all about, man. It's just about these relationships and enjoying it while you can. Because again, you never know when it's your time, and when it's somebody else's. So again, you just got to enjoy it while you can.
Well,
Absolutely.
And for me, college football is something that, you hear this family that, and that gets thrown a lot in college football. But it's not just the individuals on those teams; it's also the fans and the collective family of college football. So, when you think about somebody like Mike Leach was he was manically genius. Let's just put it that way. He, as far as his offenses were concerned, he did one thing. He did it really, really well. And that was pass the ball. He used the same plays over and over and over again. And, by teaching young men how to do something very, very well repetitively, he had a lot of success. And his coaching tree lives on, and so does his offense. In that air raid style, he was one of the originators of it and was very, very successful. So from a football perspective, X's and O's, he's left a large imprint, but he was also part of the personality. He wasn't the guy that stood up there and said, go 1-0 every press conference. He'd tell you about candy corn. He'd tell you about, advised a lot of people not to have weddings. He was just an interesting guy. He loved pirates and he loved life. And, that's why I think there was a collective loss, because there was a personal connection. And for Jake, we all watched him grow. And, Trey, you're starting to get the experience of watching people play. And, when you share in those moments on the field and you share on the sidelines, we're also sharing them in the stands. And, by all accounts, everybody who's came out, he made a positive difference for everybody. And, 25 years old. I mean, nobody should pass away at 25 years old. He had a bright future ahead of him. He was in Boston, and, just a real stand-up dude. And same thing for Mike Merritt. Everybody was real close to Mike Sims Walker. He was on campus actually around the time that Ben was. And, it doesn't matter what generation or of athlete or what, that time frame was, but at the end of the day, they're good people, and it's a loss for all of us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Speaking of Mike Leach's coaching tree, I think I posted something that Fox posted the other day. It was kind of like a meme type thing, a picture. But Mike Leach's coaching tree notable head coaches: Dave Aranda from Baylor, Neal Brown from West Virginia, Sonny Coombe from Louisiana Lafayette, Sonny Dykes, TCU, Josh Heupel from Tennessee, Dana Holgerson from Houston, Cliff Kingsbury from Texas Tech, and then the Arizona Cardinals, Seth Luttrell from North Texas, Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma, and then Southern Cal, and then Ken Wilson from Nevada, and many more. Those are just probably the names that you know the most. But, each one of those guys has been under Coach Leach at some point. So, and that each one of those guys runs the air raid very successfully. And, it's always been one of my favorite offenses. That's what my team ran in college. I liked Coach Leach because of that. Plus, he's just a character, and I love characters like that. So,
and to your point, he changed the Big 12. Like, literally, that's not the way that they played, and now that's all they play. All of the offenses are air raid. So,
yeah, I mean, a lot of the offenses in college football are air raid, whether you know it or not.
Agreed.
I mean, it's
football. The way it's shifting is it's a lot of those air raid pros now. I mean, at every level, high school, college, and even in the pros, they take little bits and pieces from it. Yeah, it's everywhere now.
Well, we witnessed it here for the last couple of years with Josh Heupel. Yeah. So, and you still see parts of it even in Gus's offense, and there's parts of it there was parts of it in Frost's freaking offense, so it's just, they Coach Leach just like perfected it. and that's why he's had such good success. Maybe not the last couple of years, but he was turning that team around. I can't even imagine what the staff and the players are feeling there at Mississippi State.
Yeah.
So that has to be like super rough, because any player that I've ever talked to or known that played for Mike Leach absolutely loved him. So just such a bummer. I think that, like I said, that changes my world a little bit without him to watch his press. I would literally watch the teams that he coached, just and I would go watch his press conferences week after week, and it's just a bummer.
It's the only reason I watched MSU's press conferences for whatever came out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was always entertaining. Anyway, on to the good stuff. That's not really the good stuff we just talked about. So, all right. I guess let's start with this coaching craziness. Will, or Travis Williams, defensive coordinator for UCF, the last couple of years, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
2 years. Mm-hmm.
Gone. Went to Arkansas. And then Chip Lindsey, the offensive coordinator that just came last year, I believe, or this year, left for North Carolina. Same position on both sides. So that's a little bit weird for all this to happen right before signing day. Right after the season, right before signing day. Especially Will. Wasn't really expecting that, but then the more I read and everything else, I think that it was probably pretty well known. And that would explain, in my opinion, that would kind of explain the fall off of the defense for the last couple games as well, possibly. Especially if players knew about it and everything else. And then you saw a couple players that were kind of surprising transfer. That might have something to do with that. So, we'll talk about it. Whatever y'all want to talk about.
Well, from my seat, Will, to your point, and I'll call him T won't from now on. T won't be here any longer, and to your point though, Andrew, it's been said that the past couple of months, folks in the locker room have known about this, and Auburn. He hadn't tweeted since like October 31st or something like that. And he was constantly on there, and he's known really for his recruiting more than anything else. And he just blanked off of social media. Auburn was in the mix, and we know that he interviewed for that job. Obviously, he came from Auburn. That's his alma mater. And he didn't get that job. So I think the Arkansas job kind of came out of left field. And then the Arkansas head coach a couple days ago, they lost their defensive coordinator. He said something to the effect of, I'm ready to announce, but I kind of, I'm cognizant of how it affects our university and other universities. But the thing is, to your point, it's right before early signing day. And when we texted about it when the news came out, and we were like, oh boy, here goes the recruiting class. And that was the biggest part for me, because the rest of the team itself, the staff, is intact. And we did elevate from within. Addison Williams stepped in and was elevated to defensive coordinator. Our other main recruiters, though, Kenny Martin, who was a big factor in John Walker's recruitment, stayed as well. And, we're lucky that they all stayed in place. But the biggest thing I was worried about with him leaving was not necessarily his impact on the defense, but more on recruiting.
Yeah. Trey, go ahead if you got something there.
Yeah, I mean, it is a big loss. And, I mean, when you start putting the pieces together, you start kind of seeing and understanding, okay, why did this person hop in the portal, or why did this person, kind of those uncertain ones. So, it's interesting that we hear all of these things and then put it together and hear it. But, I mean, like you said, it's huge as far as the recruiting part, just because, again, it's right before, signing day. And I remember just me going through my recruiting. like just to take you in a little bit on it. Like I was between UCF and Vandy, and right when John Franklin, I don't remember if you guys know, he went to Penn State.
Yep.
So that was like not necessarily a red flag, but you kind of as a recruiter just like whoa, like, and this was before our early signing day, so I can't even imagine the kids like again. He a week. You have a week to kind of figure real things back in, and that's where it's tough. So it sucks just because again he was the big time, like you guys are saying, he was a big time recruiter. I mean that's like his MO is he can go get the players. Coaching the defensive part. It was good early, tailed off a little bit, but he's known for his recruiting. That's what his money making. So it's tough just losing such a good recruiter. But again, we'll dive into a little bit what I think Gus was looking at too. But yeah, it's tough for him and Coach Lindsey to leave too.
For sure, yeah. It doesn't seem like, honestly, seeing all the, and we'll get into this a lot later. There's a bunch of people committed yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Kept John Walker.
Some other ones, yeah. I mean, we lost a couple, but not nearly as many as I thought were going to leave or not commit because of that. And we may get some others because of it, so there's positives and negatives with all of these things every time we switch a coordinator. It's kind of one of those things. Everybody knows that the offensive coordinator isn't nearly as big of a deal, although they seem to jump pretty quickly out of UCF every time over the years we've lost lots of coordinators, so it's nothing new for us, unfortunately. But Gus calls all the plays, so offensively that wasn't surprising at all. A little bit surprising though, because those guys had worked together for quite a while at Auburn and all that before. So I was a little bit surprised about what's that guy's name?
Chip Lindsey.
Chip Lindsey, yeah. I forgot his name already. But I was a little bit surprised by that because he was such a Gus guy. So yeah, and there was, you put in the notes here, rumors of Chip and Gus not getting along. I don't know about that. I mean, they've worked together for years and years, so I don't know. Maybe he wanted to call plays and Gus didn't want him to, or I don't know. Who knows? And it's kind of weird for the offensive coordinators to come when a head coach is calling the plays anyway, because they're kind of a quasi, coordinator. So I mean, I understand them wanting to jump because of that. But supposedly Gus is open to giving up some play calling position, so that could be interesting.
Yeah, he had his presser and basically said that it's a lot to do all of those different things, right? And
with the college football as it is today.
Correct.
Yeah, a little bit different than it has been in the past.
Right. And I also think, honestly, we know that the health scares that happened with his wife and his daughter and everything else, and I think that probably had something to do with it as well. By all accounts, he works really, really hard. I don't know if he's Brett Key and he's there at 4:00 in the morning, but he works really, really hard, and in between the prep work, coordination, making sure everything's running smoothly at practice, all of that stuff, that's a lot, and especially for a program our size. We're not a small G5 program anymore. We're a Power 5 program, which there's a lot more that goes into that. So I think he's kind of had a realization with the health scares, and he wants to take a step back and relinquish play calling duties. But I do think the one thing that Gus does for us, in the sense that it's still his offense, is that if a coordinator leaves, we don't lose that offense. It's not like some other places where someone's truly a CEO and they're not on the day-to-day activities, or they're not involved in the offense very much. And because of that, if a coordinator leaves, that offense leaves. We don't have that problem. So we still have Gus as a backup and to continue that offensive strategy and momentum as we move along if we lose coordinators.
Well,
Yeah.
hold on real quick. I'll believe that Gus stops playing calls when I see it. I'm not believing that until I see it, because he said from day one of coming here
right.
that's what he wanted to do. And I saw the press conference. I know what he said. I heard what he said this last week, but I'll believe it when I see it. I just think he wants to call the plays personally.
Yeah, I think it's always tough for a coach to, like offensive coordinators to relinquish that power. Just because that's what got Gus all of his jobs, was his ability to call great offenses. And I kind of understand it from Coach Lindsey's position because, I look at it kind of like how the Chiefs are, with Eric Bieniemy. We all know Andy Reid's calling the plays, and I think, I think that's why he hasn't taken that next step as far as becoming a head coach, whether it be college or, the pro job, because as much as you do, all the background work and develop the game plans, calling plays is a skill, the feel for the game. And I think it's the same way defensively. And I don't think Chip Lindsey was ever going to get that, with Gus, him going to UNC with Mac Brown, I don't know too much about it, but I think he's more of the CEO type right now. So he's going to have that freedom to call plays, and, he's going to have a good quarterback to do it, which, I think that's a good situation for him to, if that's the first job you want to be able to freely call plays, you went to a good situation. And that's how you garner the respect, because, again, it's also it's a double-edged sword. If they take a step back offensively, they're going to blame you, because UNC they were a pretty good offense this year. So I don't know. I kind of understand it, but again, it's risk and reward. And like you're saying, I don't think Gus is going to relinquish the plays unless it's like a rumored, Scott Frost, somebody who's kind of, a big time guy who we know has called plays in the past and has had successful offenses in the past. I think it'll be hard for him.
Shameless plug by Trey for his head coach.
Yeah, you said it there. Unfortunately, in my opinion, Scott Frost has been mentioned in this entire thing, supposedly interviewed, and I don't know that to be true. I'd have to see that to believe it as well. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That would be weird, I think, for Scott Frost, and I just feel like sometimes it's a lot of wishful thinking. Scott Frost's name comes up anytime there's
like
any
butterflies.
Coaching situation where somebody there could be. It's kind of like KZ's name comes up a lot too.
Exactly.
Oh, KZ needs to be a coach at UCF. KZ, make him offensive coordinator. This was last year, and again now. I mean, I'd love to have Scott Frost's offense back. I mean, I would love to have that, but does it totally work with what Gus is doing? Probably not. Do we have the Scott Frost players that Scott Frost needs to run his thing? No. Would that offense totally work in the Big 12 with that type of player? I don't know. So I don't know. We can talk about that more if you guys want. I mean, Trey, you know Scott Frost a lot better than the rest of us do. Maybe you would have some insight into that.
Yeah, I don't understand the fit. Like, of course, just as a fan, Coach Frost those were the golden years. That was the start of this golden era of UCF fast football. Exciting offense, explosive. Like, that's where
just don't
most
say
of these
Golden
new
Knights,
fans,
man. Just don't say Golden Knights.
Yeah, I think that's where it's kind of that allure of, oh my goodness, we can get them back. But just me personally, I don't understand the fit as far as, like you were saying, like Gus is his own man. Gus is a well-established coach. And to bring on Coach Frost would be not necessarily a challenge, but it would present challenges because of the magnitude of a person he is.
Right.
And not in the sense that he takes it's almost like having two really good quarterbacks. Like you can't have two really good quarterbacks, because I always heard the saying, one quarterback takes up all the room anyway, so you can't have two of them. So I think it's a little bit of that. So to me, it doesn't make sense just because I think it's too much clashing, because I think there's you try to look towards the future and you could have potential issues. Maybe Coach Frost, maybe he does step back and just accepts the coordinator role, and and he could perform awesomely. But I just think that where he's at in his career, like, yeah, the Nebraska thing didn't work, but I don't think that removes him from ever being a head coach again. As far as what he did, on the field and the product that he put, I think plenty of people have failed before. I think Nick Saban failed. I just think there's things that you can learn, but I don't think it's at UCF. Just my personal opinion. I don't think that's what he would need. I think he needs to go somewhere, like Nick Saban, and learn what it takes to fully run a Fortune 500 company. I think that's something that he could do, and I don't think UCF is that place for him now.
Yeah, I could see potential problems with him and Gus working together. They're both, alphas, and I think that there would probably be some issues with that, and Scott Frost was the head coach here before, obviously, and I just think
there's like the success that he's had that we had, that Gus wants to reach.
Right.
It's difficult to kind of maneuver through those relationships, and as much as people just say, "Oh yeah, it's a perfect fit," yeah, I mean on paper, yes, but again, these are the people you're going to be working with every day, 10 to 16 hours a day. Egos are a part of it. That's the business that they're in. It's an ego business, and of course you'd want them to put their egos aside, but it's tough, man. It's tough with all of it, because if they do have a lot of success, whose is it? Is it Gus's offense? Is it Frost's offense?
Right.
If they fail, whose offense is it? Is it Gus's offense? Is it Frost? And I think those are problems that, on top of already game planning and how hard they work with just normal stuff, you don't want to have to deal with that, and then, now we're about to have, realistically, we're going to have 3 to 4 to 5 good quarterbacks on our roster next year. That's another thing, it's just so much that if you can minimize one, just, minimize it if you can.
Yeah, and the other thing that I think about with the current players that are, that Gus has been recruiting, and, Scott Frost probably I said this earlier, would probably want a few different types of players than that are here, as well as, those players that have been here in the offense. They're used to, and they know Gus's system. So I would think that Gus would hire someone that runs a very similar, if not the same type of offense that he runs.
Yeah. That's
that
what
way
sense.
You wouldn't, totally screw up everybody, bringing in a new coordinator and switching the offense completely. I just don't think that would be a good move either. So I'm expecting it to be somebody, very well known to Gus, that has worked with him before.
Chad Morris, maybe?
I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. If you have names that you want to throw out there, do it.
No,
I don't really have
mean,
any names.
Back to your point, though,
but it would be stupid, though, for him to bring somebody in that runs a completely different offense than he does.
Yeah,
especially if he's thinking about especially if he's thinking about relinquishing duties of calling plays. You would think that he would at least want to stick with someone who knew his offense for continuality, of that.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I think for me, Gus runs a veer-based offense, right? And Frost's offense is more option-based. They both have option elements in them. They both use misdirection in the backfield. They both, use similar things from that perspective. I think Gus leans more heavily on a running quarterback than what Frost does. He wants a mobile quarterback, but not necessarily a running quarterback. So the question for me is, and to your guys' point, I think if Scott Frost were to jump in, the understanding would be, look, You're running my offense. You can put your spin on it.
I don't care who it is. I think it's going to be.
No,
that.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I think specifically with Frost, he would have to accept the fact that, hey, you're running my offense. You can put your wrinkles on it and your spin on it, which is what Saban does. I actually know Coach Huff from Marshall, who was one of, personally, which was one of Saban's acolytes and came up in his system. And I asked him, I was like, how does Saban do that? And he said, well, you're going to run his offense with with your own spin on it, but the core elements of the offense are going to be the same. And I'd imagine if that were to come true, Scott would have to run his offense, Gus's offense with his type of lineman. He likes the SEC style lineman, and then put his wrinkles on it. So that would be. It wouldn't be Scott Frost's offense if he came here, just like Scott Frost's offense wasn't Scott Frost's offense when he went to Oregon. And when he came to UCF, it was Oregon's offense plus his previous offenses sprinkled together, and you came up with what he had here. So, to your point, it's going to be, is Scott Frost in position to be contrite? I mean, the benefits for him is he comes back to Orlando. His wife loved Orlando. He loved Orlando. He doesn't have the spotlight or the pressure. He can step into an offensive coordinator role. And if he starts running Gus's offense, then, he doesn't have to deal with all those other burdens, and he can watch someone who's run an SEC program. No, it's not Nick Saban, but Gus has run an SEC program, probably one of the most difficult SEC programs to run, and learn how to run a Power 5 program from that perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think, again, like I was saying, I think it's going to have to be egos, Would Gus drop his offense and let Frost run it? Probably not.
Nope.
Well, do I think Frost is going to just run Gus's offense? I don't think so either. I think, especially what people forget, I don't know, not necessarily forget, but we played them in the Peach Bowl,
Yep.
And I remember conversations we had about, going up against that team and things that we did to stop it. And, it wasn't, I could see how egos could get in the way of that, and I think that's why I don't think it's a fit. I don't think I don't know. I don't, it doesn't make too much sense. I don't know exactly if he interviewed or not. But to me, it just doesn't make sense, but again, if Coach Frost is up for all of it, I'm up for all of it. I think he could be a welcome addition, but I just don't think it makes sense, I guess.
He's going to have to do a rehab program no matter where he goes. Whether it's
that's a no-brainer
here or it's anywhere else. So he's going to have to take a step back no matter what. Now, whether he can do that or not, I don't know.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it would be interesting, but I seriously don't think that's going to happen. So, you never know. Crazier things have happened, I guess, but
yeah,
I'm not going to hold my breath about that happening. So I am interested to see who it's going to be, though. That is something that I think needs to be settled sooner than later, obviously.
Definitely.
Especially, I don't know. I mean, they put in Addison pretty quick. Addison Williams as well. Yeah, T-Will, A-Will. I guess it's A-Will now.
That was very smart of Gus.
I wish it was an I will, because it would be T won't and I will. I really would have loved that, but
you and your nicknames and acronyms.
That's right.
I do think that
and
the
keywords
Addison Williams promotion was. I think that was smart by Gus, because I think that's why we were able to keep a lot of the guys in the recruiting class. Personally,
I agree.
And it's been said that they were telling the recruits this anyway. It's been said, and I mean, who knows?
It's smart
by a player's family member.
Yeah,
that said that they've been saying this since last year. That T Will won't be here long, but Gus is saying I will.
Right.
So, that's been the message supposedly since the 2021 recruiting cycle, and they were able to keep, because Arkansas kept their entire defensive staff, so we were able to keep our entire defensive staff. And Kenny Martin has been instrumental in a lot of these recruiting battles. So, John Walker was one of them, and a lot of his decision hinged on whether Kenny Martin stayed or not, and he is. And Addison Williams supposedly is supported by the rest of the staff.
The players seem to really like it,
him too.
You know that he was. They put out that little video of Gus. Some
of the DBs. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that the DBs basically? That
I saw a couple of them. Yeah.
Yeah. They all seem to be pretty happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he's got Addison's
coaching
career has been pretty interesting as well. I believe that he was at Auburn with Gus on the offensive side of the ball at one point.
He was the assistant to the head coach and an analyst at Auburn. And yes,
on the offensive side,
correct.
Though, yeah. So he's not just a defensive coach. So that's interesting. So he knows the entire thing, is what I'm saying.
And I think that makes good, either or, when you can kind of learn the nuances of, say you want to be a defensive coach, you learn the nuances of offense and why they attack defense like this. And I think that's like beneficial for when you want to be a defensive coach. You have that background. I've heard of plenty of coaches that do that. So I think that's just a plus.
Yeah.
The other way around too. Frost, remember, was a quarterback in college and then played defensive back.
He played safety in the pros.
Yep.
Yeah, in the NFL, because he wasn't a good enough quarterback. But anyway, that's another thing. He was an option quarterback, and those don't really exist.
That is not
in
NFL.
The NFL. Yeah. So, it's going to be interesting. But, I like the promotion within kind of a thing because it just keeps the whole core group together. Obviously, they're going to add someone in there, and they're going to be able to add a few extra coaches, I believe, anyway, going to the Power 5 style of thing.
Mm-hmm.
More assistants and things like that. So that's going to be interesting. And I'm, like I said, still, for me, I think that whoever the offensive coordinator is going to be will be somebody that has been under Coach Gus before and knows his system very well.
Agreed.
He has a pretty large coaching tree himself. So there are a lot of people out there that have worked under him and know exactly how his system works. So
exactly.
I would assume that he's made a lot of phone calls, and I'm expecting that any day now.
Yeah, SMU's head coach coached under him too, didn't he?
Who's SMU's head coach now?
I don't
even
remember
know
his name.
I'd have to. I want to look up Gus's coaching tree because there's so many in it.
And Addison Williams, just going back to that while you look it up, he has been a defensive coordinator before. So he's been a defensive coordinator. Rhett Lashley, that's right.
Yeah, Rhett Lashley.
Lashley, yeah. He was there when Gus at Auburn early when I was getting recruited. I remember that.
Yeah, and, for Addison Williams, he was at South Carolina as a student assistant, then a defensive graduate assistant at Tusculum. I don't know where that is. I think it's a D2 school. Defensive back, defensive coordinator / defensive backs coach. Then Furman, cornerbacks. Then he became defensive coordinator at Furman. We should remember those guys. 2019, Auburn, the analyst assistant to the head coach, worked directly with Gus. Then 2020, he was at Coastal Carolina and coached safeties, and he came to us coaching DBs, and now defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So his specialty is definitely defensive backs.
Yeah, so coaches under Malzahn that became head coaches, Mike Norvell, Memphis, obviously, and Florida State, Brent Dearman, Bethel, Tennessee, and North Alabama, Chip Lindsey, obviously he was the head coach at Troy before he came here, Jake Spavital, Texas State, the guy that actually just, yeah, that's interesting. That might be a name to look at because he was at Texas State. I believe probably fired at Texas State because G.J. Kinney, who was our quarterback coach, offensive coordinator,
went to Incarnate Word and
now he's the head coach at Texas State. So That might be an interesting name. I wonder what Jake Spavital, or however you say his name, Spavital.
They also got
I think.
if I'm not mistaken, we got a transfer from Texas State too.
We did.
Yeah.
Defensive back.
So that could be interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. Kenny Dillingham from Arizona State, Drinkowitz from Appalachian State in Missouri were all under Malzahn as well. So interesting. Yeah, there might be a name there to keep
an eye on.
An eye on there, yeah. Oh, whatever his name is.
Spivital.
Yeah, now he is the offensive coordinator for the Cal Golden Bears, I guess.
Oh, he probably isn't.
So he must have just gone there to after whatever happened at Texas State. Texas State was named head coach. Texas State, I don't know. Yeah, so he must have just left there to be the coordinator. Although, no, Texas State fired him after the 2022 season. Okay.
Yep.
In 4 years, he was 13-35 overall.
That would get you fired.
Yep. But that also gets you a job as the offensive coordinator at Cal.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That isn't saying much for Cal. But we already knew that. But yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, Gus has options. It'll be interesting to see, who he trusts. But he has a tendency to hire folks that he knows. So, you're definitely onto something.
Why wouldn't you if you've been a head coach for that long? I mean, why wouldn't you?
I'm not disagreeing with you.
No, I know. I'm just saying, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I wasn't saying that you were disagreeing.
Yeah. So, like, from that perspective, you're 100% right. I mean, why wouldn't you bring someone up that you know what their work ethic is, whether they mesh with you or not, etc. So, plus you always want to, I know for me, in leadership, you always want to bring people up. So if you can give them an opportunity, I think Addison Williams was one where they had conversations about that well beforehand, which is why I think you had that announced so quickly. That he kind of knew that's where he was going to go with it. So we'll see how he goes with offensive coordinator. Were
there some other names that have been mentioned besides Frost? Anything that anybody else knows that actually did interview or could have interviewed or?
Well, I don't have them in front of me, but yes, there were other names that were interviewed that were previously involved with him. Bobby something or other. And then there was also a cup of tea had about possibly the guy that was the head coach over at USF that just got fired.
That'd be weird.
Yeah, he was at Clemson.
Did we talk? I don't know if we talked last week about who their new head coach is over there.
Alex Golish.
Yeah, that's pretty weird. So, and then yeah,
he kind of burned bridges on the way out too. So
yeah, there's going to be some weirdness with that, and then possibly a transfer to over there. I don't know, coming from us, and vice versa. We've got two of their guys now from over there. Greer. We'll see if he stays.
Right.
If he actually signs,
tomorrow.
Well,
he doesn't.
He's
have
a transfer, so he just has to enroll. So
it's whenever he enrolls. So, and the enrollment, I think this semester's over. So you might be waiting until January.
Yeah. Which it's coming up pretty quick. So, but that could be interesting. I guess Greer was a big T. Will guy. So now since T. Will has moved on, we'll see if Greer actually enrolls here, which I hope he does, because that dude, I think, has some stuff to give.
And we need linebackers
badly.
Yeah, and the Henderson twins dropped off. That was a big. There's some debate whether that was a big loss or not, because they were very athletic, had all the tools, had a lot of speed, but were learning the game. Folks don't remember, they were from Jamaica. Started playing football as sophomores in high school.
Yeah.
So they had, a lot of football to learn.
Yep.
What kids are you talking about?
The Lake Brantley, the Henderson twins.
They were
okay.
Or Harris twins. I'm sorry,
yeah.
Harris. Andrew and
Harris
Michael.
twins.
Yeah,
They
the Hendersons
decommitted
were
like
still here.
the other day after the whole T-Will thing came out. I think they were the first ones to.
The only ones.
Or the only ones. Yeah.
I don't know how I felt about their tape, but
Well, they were both 4 stars.
rankings are overrated to me.
Yeah.
I like you can see it on the film, but I understand the point of having a high class, but
Yeah.
I don't know how I felt about them when I watched them.
That's the take on them. Super athletic, super fast. So they had a lot of potential there. The question is and you know this having played defense, both of you do. You have to learn all those other skills. You don't learn the reactions. You don't learn angles. You don't learn offenses and what they're trying to do in 2 years. You just don't. And if you're going to play linebacker, that's one thing you have to know. And
there's a physical jump too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they were pretty stout, 6'1", 200 pounds, so not small. Still needed to put some weight on them. But their biggest thing was they had speed. That was their biggest pro.
Which again, if you can develop that and hone it in, they could be studs. But I don't know. Their speed jumped out on film, but again, it's so much more. I guess playing linebacker, but who am I? I don't recruit, so.
Well, I guess since we're on to recruits now, let's talk a little bit about some of these guys that we're expecting. And this is the thing. I hate talking about some of these guys because some of these guys that have committed are not going to sign, and that there's going to be some that really haven't said much that are probably going to sign, some names out of nowhere.
Well, John,
you've mentioned Walker. You're all in for John Walker. So tell us a little bit about John Walker. I haven't seen any tape on him, and I don't see. Let me see. Here we go.
He's nationally ranked 101,
I'm gonna
12th
watch
in his position.
While you're talking.
He's a beast. He's 6'3", 310 pounds from Kissimmee. Gators were all in on him too, trying to flip him. He's really quick off the line, and he's just a physical specimen. I mean, in the high school level, if you're 6'3", 310 pounds as a defensive tackle, you're going to push people around. So he's got good size as a high schooler. He played at the highest level in high school football, and by and large, he was wanted by a lot of people. He had Ohio State offers during his announcement. It was the Gators, Ohio State, us. There was one other team, I don't remember who it was, but chose us over all of them, and the Gators went hard on him. And
he hasn't chosen anybody yet.
Well, he committed to us.
He's committed, but that doesn't mean that, But
he also played in bowl practice the other day, so
I understand
that,
which is weird, and I didn't even know you could do that.
Yep.
Trey, have you ever heard of anything like that happening before?
Nope.
A player that's not signed or committed practicing with your team in bowl practice.
Yeah, see, so I've never heard of the not signed part where you practice. The only time I've heard of that was, I remember, I think Alabama, when they signed Jalen Hurts, he was their scout team quarterback for Deshaun Watson one year. But again, I think that was in January, so he had already early signed and enrolled. But other than that, no, I've never heard of a kid not signing or anything and practicing in bowl practices. That's the first time I've heard that. So
that's weird, and I hope it's within the rules.
Yeah, or maybe he's already signed. I don't know.
If he's a January enrollee, it's within the rules, so he may have enrolled already.
Yeah, and that means he's already signed. The signing day part's just more like just walk in the park just to
if that's the case, that's something different. I am watching some of his stuff. He definitely ragdolls a lot of offensive linemen in high school, without question. Definitely the best player on the field most of the time. I mean, offensive linemen have nothing for him. It doesn't.
He's got
seem
good hands
like...
too. He puts his hand placement's pretty good when he's driving guys back. So he was someone, I mean, like I said, we recruited against Ohio State and Florida, and nationally he's ranked the 101st player nationally, so top 300 recruit.
Okay.
So I thought his film was really good. Just coming out, watching, and I mean, it's going to take him some time just to get used to the college game, as it does everybody. But again, I think going in practicing now is the best thing you can do, and then enrolling early in January. He's probably going to be playing. Ideally, he's probably playing early.
From
I
day
don't
one,
think he's going to get redshirted.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a player and probably contributor early. So we'll see. I'm excited about him.
So it looks like he's got offers: UCF, Florida, Miami, Florida State, Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, and Texas A&M.
Yeah.
So
he's a dude.
He's a guy.
Yeah.
He's a dude.
Oh, wait, that wasn't the whole list. Let's go through the whole list. Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, Auburn, Cincinnati, Florida, FIU, Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, LSU, Maryland, Miami, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Mississippi State, Nebraska, South Carolina State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Oregon, Penn State, Pittsburgh, holy Moses, South Carolina, Tennessee,
that we see on TV,
Texas A&M, Tulane, USC, Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech, Washington, and West Virginia.
Yeah. Every team that we watch on college football all weekend on TV, he has every offer, pretty much.
So, and he's from Kissimmee. He is a hometown, hero. So if this whole thing goes down and it happens, I mean, that's a coup as far as I'm concerned, getting a guy like this.
And guys like that are known locally. All these kids know each other locally. So, if you start getting the big name guys every year, as kind of like the halo recruit, other guys are going to jump on board. Hey, did you hear John Walker's going? It gives us validity in the eyes of, hey, this is a destination you can go to. Obviously the P5 label helps with that. But, hey, John's going out here. That dude's a menace. Let's go. Let's go. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. He is the highest rated player on Rivals that we have on our team, obviously. So 5.9 rating. I kind of I like that rating thing a little bit better than the stars, even though it kind of goes with the stars. But
he's a borderline 5-star player.
Well, he's 1/10 away from being a 5-star.
Yeah.
6.0 is a 5-star. So he's 5'9". So
hot 4-star.
Yeah, and then there's Braden Marshall that's 5.8. Kevin Call, which is 5'8". Andrew Rumpf, 5'7". Tyree Patterson, which is one of the ones that just Andrew Rumpf committed today, right?
Yes, and Patterson was another Florida flip.
Patterson was yesterday. He was one of the ones yesterday. There was 2 or 3 yesterday, and there was 2 today. Keenan Cox from Penick City, Alabama. Offensive lineman, 6'5", 275, a 5.6 rating, which is a 3-star. Andrew Rumpf, the defensive end from Palmetto, Florida, 6'6", 260.
That's a big dude.
5.7 rating. Trey Patterson from Eustis, 6'2", 180 wide receiver, 5.7. And then yesterday as well, Jamarick Morris, defensive back, junior college player from Hutchinson, Kansas. No stars because they don't really give stars to junior college players.
Yeah, out of high school, he was a 3-star. So... Okay. He's what's interesting about him, his size. He's listed as a cornerback, and they list him at 6'2", 205. We all know that they're, little. This
says 6'3", 200.
Okay, well, what I'm looking at 247 right now, and it's 6'2", 205. So, typically they give him an inch here or there. So if they're saying 6'3" and it's 6'2", that may be more accurate. That's a good sized cornerback. That's a rangy
that's
cornerback.
A big cornerback.
That's more of a safety.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
a big corner.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, we could use some big corners.
Especially that night package that we have.
That would be pretty nice to have some larger corners. We're going to need them. We're also going to need some guys that are really fast.
Yeah, that's why I like the Braden Marshall. I've been following him since I think he was a freshman because the guy he trains with is actually Drico Johnson. He used to play. He was a former Knight. He's been training with him since he was young. So I've been seeing his workouts and seeing him develop. He's going to be good because Drico's training those guys like how he was trained by Coach Fish and stuff. So
awesome.
He's going to be good. I think he's going to be a good player.
Now, the only thing with Braden Marshall is he has family that went to Auburn. He did go on Auburn visit this last weekend. I think based on the fact that, well, two things. One, he's the one that had the hat ceremony, and UCF wasn't on the table, and he pulled it out last minute and peeved a lot of people off. He's been playing with this, on Twitter, and the fact that Auburn has just pulled a ton of cornerbacks in. I think they have 6 in this class. I think he sticks with UCF, but that's just my personal opinion.
Golly.
Yep.
He's got offers from a lot of people. This is Braden Marshall. UCF, Appalachian State, Arkansas, Auburn, Boston College, Bowling Green, Cincinnati, Clemson, Coastal, Florida Atlantic, Florida State, Georgia State, Indiana, Iowa State, Jackson State, Liberty, Louisville, Maryland, Miami, Minnesota, Nebraska. Yeah, he's got all of them too. South Florida.
It's going to be us. It's going to be us or Auburn, and I'm thinking he sticks with us. But that's just my personal opinion. He's been trolling everybody. He trolled everybody before his commitment ceremony as well.
Who else is on this list that you're excited about? Anybody else up there? What about?
Well, Randy Pittman, I'm excited about because we need a consistent tight end, and he, he's got good size and he's got good pass catching ability. Local kid, and I'm excited about him. Our offense opens up so much more if we have that last option at tight end. Someone who can. We have basically one tight end that comes in that's a blocker primarily, and then we have one that's a pass catching tight end. When we have two tight end sets, and if we can have that person as a check valve who can open up the center of the field, who can catch consistently or roll with the quarterback to the right or the left, and sit at about that 10 to 15 yards from the line of scrimmage and catch the ball. I think that's going to be a dynamic that really, really, really opens us up.
Yep.
It's interesting when you go back and you look at now I'm going back and looking at last year's recruiting class, and just to even look on there and see the names that we've actually seen this year. We've seen a few of them. But then there's other ones that we haven't seen at all, like zero.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It's interesting to go back. Xavier Townsend, obviously. Did we see either of the Hendersons this year play?
Yep. They played.
Yeah. They played
on.
the Temple game. I remember that for sure.
They played a couple other games as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quan Lee, did we ever see him at all?
No.
Wide receiver.
Nope.
Gainesville, that was kind of a big deal. I thought that was. Who was the highest rated one out last year? Nakai Martinez. We saw him a couple times.
He played.
He played a lot.
And then the Henderson twins, Jordan McDonald.
We did. I think we may have seen him once.
Running back from
I think he was in
Georgia.
Temple too.
Okay.
I think that was when Thomas was in. Cat TC when he was playing quarterback. That I think the whole quarter him and Jordan were in.
Okay. Keenis Thompson, defensive end. Did we see him at all?
No.
Defensive end, 6'4", 235, not huge, with 235. Castellanos, obviously, we saw Xavier Townsend. Grant Stevens, tight end. Did we ever see him? We saw T.J. Bullard, obviously.
Yep.
Tyler Griffin, athlete from Brookett, Georgia.
Don't think we saw him.
6'4", 200. Cam Moore, we saw him. Caden Kittler, offensive line, Plano, Texas. Don't remember ever seeing him. And Jamal Johnson, defensive end, Miramar, Florida. I don't remember seeing him at all either.
Me either.
So
I think we saw more of I think Gus's kind of MO right now is he'll get the immediate transfers to come in, play the important snaps, and then kind of sprinkle in some of the young guys.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
I'm glad that some of these guys did get some time. Would have liked to seen, some more of them, obviously. But it's interesting if you go back. I like this is one of my favorite things to do during recruiting season is just to go back and look at who the recruits were and how they turned out. I mean, if we go back to 21, that Hawaiian wide receiver that transferred, whatever his name was, it's like 50 syllables, so I don't know how to say it.
That transferred or was a freshman?
He was a freshman in 21, but transferred.
From
yeah,
here, yeah. Titus. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I felt about him either. I didn't think he was super. Like when everybody's like, "This is the best player in the class," I never saw that.
He was a 4-star. It was just a big deal because we had that Hawaii pipeline going. And...
Yeah, he was a 4-star.
Yeah.
Let's see. Out of this group, though, there's not a
I'll
lot.
tell you one that I'm really excited about too is Fred Davis.
Yes.
Clemson transfer.
We hadn't even really talked about transfers.
Yeah, I know.
Much. I was going to go there next. I was kind of anyway. Whatever. Let's talk about the transfers, I guess.
Sorry,
him and Leary. I'm excited about.
Yeah, he's a former 4-star 9. I think he was pretty close to a 5.8 on Rivals. He was 5.8, 5.9. He was a .97 on 247, and he came from Clemson. He had some injuries and then kind of got left in the had an ankle injury and kind of got left out at Clemson. Transferred here. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. 6'1", 190 is what he's listed at here. And I'm excited. I think that guy's a plug and play kind of guy.
Yes.
Okay. Cage King.
I think he's going to have a spot next year.
Long snapper. We needed a long snapper.
Right.
That's a very important position, but definitely not a very known position. But we had one of the best long snappers in college football.
Was up for the top award 2 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to play a long time in the NFL too.
Yep, and he was on Phil Steele's first team as the long snapper too. So we got a transfer from Cage King from
Arizona
State. Is it Arizona or Arizona State?
Arizona
State. Which is the
Sun Devils.
Sun Devils. Arizona State. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. Chauncey Magwood, receiver from Kentucky. And then
the other one's
Leary
Leary
is the...
Sorry.
Do you want to do this or you want me to do it?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Christian Leary from Alabama, wide receiver. 4-star in high school. Not sure how he turned out from there. Roger, what do you know about him and Trey as well?
He was a guy that was getting play in the spring game. Alabama, as we know, they get so many high-level players that you typically sit a year or two there. And he's got a lot of speed. Think of like Ryan O'Keefe, but faster. His speed is more in line with what AK's is, but he's a larger guy. He's 5'10", 185 receiver, so he gets his hands on the ball. He can go. And, there was tape. I watched him from the spring game. He's got good hands, good body position.
He is fast.
Yeah, he's super fast.
From Edgewater. I'm watching some of his high school tape, and he is super fast.
Yeah, legit player from Alabama. Just was sitting on the bench and was looking for time. And I'll tell you, I mean, you look at our wide receiving core, and we still have another one that's out there that I think we will probably get that we haven't even talked about yet. And it's going to be a deep wide receiver room.
Which is interesting.
Well, here's my thing.
Go ahead.
My thing is personally, we didn't use Ryan O'Keefe, I don't think, to his potential. And I guess my question is going to be, how are we going to do that with him? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think O'Keefe was one of our better receivers. I think he should have gotten more touches. But I really only saw him, I guess, kind of the deep shots downfield and the jet sweeps. Now, if that's just the role Gus wants, then okay, I get it. But I don't know. I think,
my God, this guy's fast.
How many touches do you think Ryan O'Keefe got this year? Completions.
I think he got a good amount of touches. I think it's more so the type of touches. I think I don't think O'Keefe's skill set was. I think I saw a lot of more so jet sweeps, when you can almost sometimes just throw a bubble out to him or let him get a hitch and just let him work. You know, I think those jet sweeps. I guess it's more so I want to see more.
73 receptions for 725 yards, 9.9 average, which was higher than what he had last year.
Yeah, I think it's more so just the development of the offense, like taking the next step. And I think a little bit is on just where we were at quarterback. I don't know. I think it's just – I think there were some guys that should have gotten the ball a little bit more. I think Ryan O'Keefe's one of them. I think I'm forgetting his name right now. The running back, smaller jetpack running back,
Johnny Richardson.
Yeah, I think like him. I think he should be getting just a little bit more touches. Now, I'm not saying give him 20 touches a game, but I just think we have so many playmakers with such a variety of skill sets. I think that our offense was a little too predictable in situations when we can be very unpredictable.
Yeah, he almost had. Johnny Richardson was very underutilized this year, which I'm okay with, to be honest with you, because of the running backs that we had, and then with Plumlee being such a runner, I was okay with Johnny Richardson not being there because I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the small little running backs. I'm just not. Yeah, I'm.
Oh yeah, absolutely not. And that's Gus too.
Yeah,
I don't think Gus is like
he's
that
not.
either.
And I mean, our running back room was so freaking crowded anyway, and there's other people that we hardly saw at all.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Whatever happened to? Who was the kid that came from Auburn? Did he graduate last year?
Mark Anthony Richards.
Yeah, was he still here?
He's back this year. Yep.
Oh, he didn't play at all.
Hardly.
Yeah,
he didn't play at all.
He was injured, though, the beginning of last season. So, and then Bowser just kind of took over.
He's not mentioned in the stats at all for this year. So I don't think it doesn't say that he had one snap rushing.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's another thing. That running back room is deep, man. I mean, Jordan McDonald didn't really play much this year, and he was.
Well, and you got Bowman
he's going to be
from
playing
Florida.
a lot. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
You got Bowman from Florida that transferred in. He's a 5-star. You know what I mean? That running back room is ridiculous. Now, as far as Richardson is concerned, Richardson's biggest problem was his ability to block. He was terrible at pass blocking.
Well, yeah, because he's like 5'6".
Yeah, all he can do is chop block, basically.
I don't know if he's 5'6". He's probably a bit taller than that.
He's listed as 5'7", 170.
So yeah, he is probably 5'6". He's probably 5'6", 169 or 68 or something like that. Yeah, so that's funny. Yeah, he's tiny though. And I understand. In the years past, we did really well. Frost's offense did really well with the small running backs. It's not Gus's thing though. Gus needs a big. I mean, you saw what Bowser was able to do. You've seen what Harvey's been able to do.
And the big difference too is Frost's offense was east-west, and Gus wants to go between the A gaps if he can. He'll stretch the field, but the vast majority of what he wants to do is go to the A gap, downhill rushing for 3.5, 4 yards.
Most people don't understand the A gap, by the way.
Oh,
just saying.
Yeah, exactly. I mean that's. We weren't ever a downhill offense. We were, use our speed, get some tempo, tire people out.
Yeah. So Richardson,
and, we would run AK up the middle not necessarily straight in the A gap.
Way
but
too many times.
Yeah, and sometimes he'd break, but it was more so just to keep them honest. That wasn't really our MO.
Right.
It was a lot of east to west. Our run game was kind of our pass game was just an element of the run game for us.
There were a few games where I just kept you would see AK up the middle, AK up the middle, AK up the middle, and you're just like, what are you doing? Well, what?
That was,
you're going to get him hurt.
Completely respect it. Yeah, that was just for them to respect. There were some teams that wouldn't put anybody on the center, and they'd be 3 techniques and out on the edges. It's because they're like, what's the point in guarding the A gap? You're not even going to use it.
But when you got running backs like R.J. Harvey and Bowser, there's really not necessarily a need for a guy Johnny Richardson.
Yeah, exactly.
As you can see with Harvey getting 112 attempts, Bowser getting 194 attempts during the regular season. This was with the AAC championship, these stats. Plumlee having 145 attempts, 953, almost 1,000 yards. If he would have played probably that extra game or two that he missed.
Or the half a game in Tulane and not had a hammy.
The halves, yeah. He would have easily gained 1,000 yards, I think.
I think, and again, it's a different offense.
It's kind of a bummer that he didn't get that 1,000 yards. I would have loved to have seen 1,000-yard running back and 1,000-yard running quarterback.
That would have been cool.
That would have been awesome.
Johnny Richardson, DeMarcus Bowman, Isaiah Bowser, Trillian Coles, R.J. Harvey, Jordan McDonald, Mark Anthony Richards, Anthony Williams. And Anthony Williams was a big recruit. So was
but they're young.
Yeah.
So
somebody will leave out of that group. That's too many good players.
It's a lot.
And that's a good thing. It's better to...
We've never had that problem.
Yeah. It's good to have and not need than to need and not have, I'm not complaining, but again, I just think, and again, I think that's the offense. I think Gus wants to be a power run game team. If he runs the ball 100 times and throws it once, I think he'd do it. I think, I guess it's just,
I don't have a problem with that personally.
Me either. Whatever works. I guess I just see it as, we're getting all this talent in the wide receiver room, and let's be honest, wide receivers want the football.
Wasn't there a bowl game? Oh no, it was one of the FCS games the other day where a team, it was North Dakota State, I think, which is a little bit different for them, but they hardly passed the ball at all. They just ran. And then who was the... Oh, my gosh.
Was it Western?
No, it was Southern Miss. Was it the Southern Miss game? What's his name? Ran for like 325 yards in that bowl game.
Was it this year?
Wow.
Mean?
Yeah. Just the other day. It's oh my gosh.
I thought you were going to go back to where Florida got beat by like Georgia State or somebody.
No, but it happens more often than not. Oh my gosh, Southern Miss that game. Southern Miss and Rice. I got to pull it up now because the guy ran, Gore, Frank Gore Jr.
Oh yeah.
Ran for 329 yards on 21 record. Carries. Just ran. It's crazy. It was like Forrest Gump. Run, run, Frank, run. 5'8", 195. Frank Gore. Obviously, it's Frank Gore's kid.
Yeah.
He's obviously had some pretty good guy to learn from. But what's his total stats for this year? 1,300 yards on 228 attempts.
That's ridiculous.
Averaged 6.1 an attempt, 9 touchdowns. Longest run being 64 yards. That's just insane for a kid like that to do that. I think that was the bowl record in any FBS bowl, I believe, 329 yards.
Yeah, in Division I football, that's just unheard of.
That's unheard of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was basically him and maybe one other guy that ran the ball for that team. I'm sure they threw it too. I didn't see the game. I just heard, how it went down.
It's like we used to run. This is before you, Trey, but Kevin Smith. We used to run him all.
Oh, I remember
the time.
that. He told me plenty of stories of that. I'm like, oh my goodness, they're running you like that's the whole offense.
Pretty much.
Frank Gore Jr. the game before had 24 attempts for 199.
Goodness gracious.
But then 21 attempts for 329. That's crazy. Averaged 15.7 yards a carry in that bowl game.
Yeah, I'm running the ball every play, too.
Might as well. There was another, I think it was the FCS game that I was watching, though. And it was North Dakota State, which is really interesting because that's not their thing, but they just ran the devil out of the ball the other day. So in their I believe they won. I think they won that game at the very end, or maybe they lost. I can't remember. Anyway. All right. Who else? Other transfers, other commits that we're excited about?
Well, I think those are the ones that really stand out to me as far as the transfers are concerned. We have a few that are still out there that, there's some positive noise about. One of them being Caden Lee, 4-star receiver out of Kennesaw Mountain, Georgia, and Isaiah Nixon. He's another one that he came to us, he committed to us first, flipped to Florida, and there's a lot of noise about him flipping back. So supposedly Florida is there's a lot of noise on Twitter about losing him already to us as well. So that would be the biggest thing about that would be the third Florida either attempt to flip or a flip from Florida where we won that recruiting battle. We never used to win. And these are not, these are 4-star kids, right? These are not like 3-star borderline kids. These are 4-star kids that we're winning and bringing to UCF. And that's, I think, we were talking about what the P5 would do for us. This is what we were missing. And, now we can start to beat that drum. And if you get those Halo recruits that say, hey, yeah, I will stick with the Knights. Let's win for the hometown team. All these kids are local Florida kids.
All right, I had to go look. If you're not watching the FCS playoffs, by the way, they're still going on. I think the championship game is what's left. But, yeah, North Dakota State, who has won, they're basically the Alabama of FCS.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they passed 1 for 12 for 5 yards in this game the other day. And they ran for 328 yards. They had 2 rushers over 100 yards apiece. So they ran a total of 48 times and threw once. Kind of sounds like Navy. But they ran for 328 yards and averaged 6.8 a touch, which was crazy. And I can never say it right. I don't know how you say it. Incarnate word, yeah. And who's the head coach there?
It was G.J. Kinney.
That's right. That's who it was. G.J. Kinney, and now he's going to Texas State. Who will be in? Are they jumping to the American? They may be one of the teams that's jumping to the American. Either that or.
It's North Texas, I think.
Oh, is it North Texas? Okay. I can't remember. Who knows? There's all these teams that I think that team actually Texas.
Yeah, it's UTSA and North Texas from Texas that are coming to the new
Texas
AAC.
State, I believe, is a new FBS team.
I believe you're right.
Jumped up from FCS. Anyway, there's a lot of good football besides FBS football. Trey, do you ever watch any of the FCS stuff? What's that?
I've watched North Dakota State in the past.
Did he tell us this?
No. He told us. Remember that offhand joke he made about before we started the podcast?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, I've watched a lot of North Dakota State because they run a lot of stuff on offense that's it's awesome to me.
Yeah.
Like schematically, they run a lot of creative stuff, and people don't really see it, and then they see it. I guess one of the big time schools do it, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this coach is so great." Well, most of the time they take it from those FCS schools because, again, FCS there's a lot more freedom and creativity with it.
Yeah.
I think at least.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of the only ones that I've really watched a lot of was North Dakota State. But I mean, I've watched it when it comes on. My thing is I can't help but almost like I'm playing and like I'm a coach when I watch a lot of these games.
Yeah.
So I can leisurely watch it. I can't leisurely watch it. I'm sorry.
I try to have kind of my favorite teams in each of the divisions, because there's there's more besides FCS as well. There's Division 2 and Division 3. And there's some good football in all of those, and one of the reasons I like to watch it is because they have actual tournaments at the end of the season instead of a 4-team whatever invitational crap.
We're going to 12.
Getting to 12 eventually, I guess, right? So that's good, but they're still not 24 like the rest of these conferences have, and it's actual, any team at the beginning of the year has a chance. All of them, not all of them are going to make it into that playoff, but at least all of them have the opportunity to do it. So I've been saying this for years, though. So yeah, North Dakota State is definitely my FCS team. And then I actually pull for, in Division 2 or Division 3, I can't even remember, West Florida, because my daughter goes there. University of West Florida. And they were the 2019 national champions, and they just played last weekend or the weekend before. They played in the semifinal for the tournament. They played last year's national champion and lost to them. So there was no 2020 national champion because of the COVID year.
COVID, yep.
And they just canceled completely their seasons. So the last two champions played in that semifinal, and I don't even remember who it was, but they lost.
So Texas State is Sun Belt Conference now.
Oh, Sunbelt. I'm sorry. I get them all confused. There's so many Texas teams. There's
so many.
University of Texas El Paso. There's University of Texas wherever the other one is that's coming.
UTEP, and then UTEP.
San Antonio.
Yep.
Yeah.
UTSA.
There's like a million of them. University of North Texas, Central Texas, Southwest Texas.
I mean, Florida's kind of
Texas
the same way
State.
if you're from out of state, right?
It
Because you
is.
got FIU, FAU.
It's true.
FTU, our former acronym.
Yeah.
Florida Gulf Coast. You got Florida State.
Does Gulf Coast play football?
No.
I don't think
they're
they do.
just a basketball.
Yeah,
No.
just basketball.
Basketball
And
school.
other sports, yeah.
Florida State, UCF, the
The other
directionally
one over
challenged
there.
school from the west coast of Central
They
Florida.
really, the Cows should probably just drop down to FCS, and they would still get their butts kicked in FCS at this point. Anyway, Golas should help them right along with that.
I don't have a lot of faith in him.
I don't either. That's why I'm saying that he'll probably help their situation with that.
Oh, what else is
Probably
funny
help
is
them get to the FCS.
He came out and said too, like as in his presser, he was like, yeah, and I got it written into my contract that our stadium will be built by, like, we're just gonna kick it off in a year or something like that. Like, that's not happening.
Yeah, no.
Come on,
Yeah,
bro.
nah.
Whatever.
No way, bro.
All right, we've gotten off track here pretty big time.
Well, it's pretty easy when you're bagging on the Cows.
Well, I mean, yeah, I got into the FCS and Division 3 and all that stuff. So, all right, we're at an hour and 23 minutes. We should probably do a commercial here, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about this game with Duke that's coming up.
Let's do it.
All right, we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
An auto accident can change your life forever. At Chad Barr Law, we are raising the bar on what to expect from your personal injury attorney. Hi, I'm Chad Barr, and I want you to know that our entire team is dedicated to providing you with the representation you deserve in your greatest time of need. If you or a loved one have been injured in an auto accident, call 407-599-9036 for a free consultation or visit chadbarlaw.com. At Chad Barr Law, our clients come to us in need and leave as family. Offices Altamont Springs.
Looking for more out of your Porsche? Look no further than Flat6Motorsports.com. They have the widest selection of aftermarket Porsche parts anywhere in the world. With over 85 product lines and in-depth expertise, Flat6Motorsports.com is your one-stop shop for any Porsche performance needs. Whether you're shopping for intakes, exhausts, suspension, or tuning, they have you covered. Flat6Motorsports.com is the premier Porsche aftermarket specialist. Check them out at Flat6Motorsports.com. If you haven't figured it out yet, I love Tijuana Flats. I would love them even if they weren't a partner with us on the Knightline Sports Network. They have all kinds of great Tex-Mex food, and it's fresh, by the way. Made to order burritos, tacos, enchiladas, chimichangas, quesadillas, bowls, nachos, and taco salads. And if you haven't tried the queso, you are completely missing out. It is the best queso that I've ever had in my life. Absolutely hands down. And the sauce bar that they have, everything from wild to mild in there. Absolutely awesome, awesome stuff. Not only do I love the food at Tijuana Flats, but I love the company, a UCF-born company. And they give back to the community with the Justin Queso Foundation. So head to your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone. Hey Jeep Wrangler owners, have you ever sat in your office at work and watched the rain just pour into your Jeep because the weatherman said that there was a 0 chance of rain? Or you put your doors back on because there was a 100% chance and then not a drop of rain fell? Well, there's a company out there that can help take the worry away and give you the peace of mind to be without your doors. The company's called Life Without Doors. They make waterproof rain curtains and dash covers for Wranglers. Life Without Doors is there to help make the decision to leave the doors at home an easy one. Find out more at lifewithoutdoors.com.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
All right, now time to talk about the bowl game, the Military Bowl, coming up on Wednesday the 28th at a wonderful 2 o'clock in the afternoon from Annapolis, Maryland.
That's right.
Roger, you're going. Are you excited?
Yes and no. So I'll say yes because I'm going to the bowl game, and I get to see some friends. For those of you that don't know, I lived in Maryland for a little while. For a couple of years, and I made some good friends that are also UCF fans, so we're going to be tailgating and hanging out. But I am not looking forward to how cold it is going to be, so I will be wearing thermal underwear and a large pea coat and gloves and a scarf and my UCF beanie, and I will also be watching all the local Marylanders show up in T-shirts and shorts because they're crazy. But yeah, that's I'm gonna have fun watching my Knights, but I'm gonna be freezing doing it.
Sounds like a good time.
It does.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't been in cold weather for a football game for quite a while, so I used to love it being in Kansas City, the December games, and all that stuff, the Chiefs games. Going to the stadium and stuff like that was always exciting. But I'm good with Florida weather.
I don't blame you. I'm not looking forward to it. 30-degree weather. I didn't enjoy playing football in it, and I certainly am not going to be enjoying watching it. So.
Trey, you probably got to play some football up in Nebraska in the wintertime, didn't you? What was that like?
Freezing cold. But honestly,
I always like to play in the cold, personally.
Yeah. Honestly, it's not bad once you kind of get your blood flowing and you're warmed up. Like, it's not really cold until I stop playing and I go to the sideline. Then I get cold. But when you're playing, it's not really bad.
Did you guys have sideline jackets or anything?
Yeah, we had the big
coats?
jackets.
Yeah,
the big that insulate you, and I mean it's crazy. We had the big heaters that blow. I mean the seats were heated, so
the bench.
We weren't ever really cold unless it was like I think the last game.
Did you have the bench with the helmet heaters too?
Yep. Yeah. So it's not really bad until you get like the horizontal snow. Where there's no avoiding it, it just kind of hits you across the face. That's probably the only time it's really like cold.
Did you
from like warm up
ever play in a snow globe game where it was snowing and they had to like against Wisconsin or any of those places way up north? Did you ever play against any of those?
Yeah, I played some of those teams. It wasn't the only snow game I played was when we played Michigan State. That was the.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think. That was the only one that I remember where it was like freezing. Now there's some cold games. I pretty much half of the season you're playing cold games.
Yeah, it gets cold
I
there.
Remember
really,
it started getting cold in the end of September.
Yeah,
that's unfair. I mean, I don't even think it's cold now in Florida. So
right?
It's different for sure.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I enjoyed it. It's a different element. It's a different way of playing football, and I think that's how football was meant to be played. It's supposed to be sloppy. It's supposed to be hard-nosed. Those are the games where you see who loves playing football.
Right. Yeah. I've always thought that was one problem with the NFL, that they don't have cold weather very often anyway, cold weather Super Bowl games.
Oh, yeah. Unless they're
because now it's
a
business. They want it to be entertaining, where a lot of points are scored.
Didn't they have one a couple of years ago though in the cold? Wasn't there one that was played? Maybe not. Or they were talking about doing
it in Indianapolis, and they're in a covered.
Yeah, they're indoor.
They're in a dome. Yeah.
I thought there was one, or they're talking about
teams doing it. Warm weather places.
I thought they were talking about going back to some cold weather.
The only one I could see is maybe Lambeau. I mean, I could see that.
Kansas City. It'd be a great place for a Super Bowl.
I'm just talking about for nostalgia purposes. You know what I mean? That Lambeau's kind of Arrowhead is part of the NFL, but Lambeau
was
is
part of the AFL before.
No, I know, but Lambeau is like origin story.
Yeah, Lambeau has that aura to it.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's all good. That was one of the things, though, that Kansas City fans were always like, we need a cold weather, game because. I don't know, long story, but originally they were going to put a dome on the top of. They were actually going to put a sliding roof between the baseball stadium and the football stadium, are right next door to each other in Kansas City in the same parking lot, and they were going to put a big rolling roof on train tracks and roll it back and forth between the two stadiums.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah, it never happened, obviously. But it would have been really cool, and it was a concept when they built those stadiums, I think in the early 70s, maybe late 60s. It was a big concept, and that's why they built them side by side, and the tracks are actually there and all that, but the roof structure never got built. Yeah, interesting little trivia there if you ever wonder about that. Probably not, but whatever.
You're educating. That's
exactly.
What's
yeah. Okay.
You're educating.
Anyway, I'm excited about my Chiefs. All right, so let's talk about these Blue Devils. I know literally nothing about Duke football. I know a lot more about their basketball, and I don't like that, so I definitely don't like their football.
Yep. Duke football, 8-4 this year, so not too bad. And actually, their losses were all within a touchdown. So they had a pretty solid team this year. They did not play in the championship game. Obviously, they had losses against Kansas. You should be happy about that.
I was happy about that, actually, because Duke is a major rival for us in basketball. So if we can beat them in football and basketball, that's good. That's a good deal.
They did lose to Georgia Tech as well. That was a common opponent. UNC and Pitt. They have wins. They also had a common opponent in Temple, but everybody beat Temple this year. Northwestern, and North Carolina A&T, Virginia, Miami. Yay. Anytime Miami's beat, I'm happy. BC, Virginia Tech, and Wake Forest. And Wake Forest had a pretty good team this year as well. This is one of those teams that's just fundamentally sound. They're not going to jump out at you and put up a whole bunch of numbers. Their quarterback is actually very much like John Rice Plumlee in the sense that he had a lot of running yards. He had 2,794 passing yards with 20 TDs and 6 interceptions, but he also was their leading rusher. He had 636 yards and 11 TDs on the ground. So they like to play pretty smash mouth football. They like to defensively, they defend the run really well. The opposing teams are only averaging 120 yards per game, so that's pretty solid. And that means, if it's cold and windy up there, which it's expected to be, we're going to try to run the ball. And it'll be an interesting matchup to see our running game versus that strength on their defense. Their points per game, their numbers are very similar to ours. We average 34.4 for the season. They're averaging 33.1 points against, 23.2 versus 22.8. 480 yards for us versus 421 for them. 244 versus 236. For passing, rushing, 236 versus 184. So we have the advantage running. They have the advantage. Their strength is running defense. We allow 383. They allow 382 yards. So it's very interesting how close the numbers are, even when you're looking at the win total. But they're kind of Cincinnati-esque in the sense that they're a very sound football team, or Tulane-esque. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't have a lot of turnovers. So they like to keep low-scoring games with tough defense. They do have a running quarterback that is a legit running threat. So that's going to be interesting to see how our defense plays that, especially losing Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste. We do have Josh Seliskar coming back, but we'll be thin in the linebacker core. So it'll be interesting to see how and if we can contain their running quarterback.
You're going to have some young blood out there on both sides of the ball.
Absolutely.
Which is good. Good to see those guys.
We also will be without Ryan O'Keefe this game and Devontae Brown. Ryan O'Keefe, obviously he can be a difference maker, but I don't think I think we can replace that. Devontae Brown, we're thin in defensive back as well, and he's an experienced defensive back, so it'll be interesting to see how they fare against this offense. So for me, I expect a relatively low-scoring game, and it's just going to be a question if JRP can break things open early. If he can, they don't have a lot of offense, and they can't play catch up. So if we can get out to a good start and make them throw the ball and make them one-dimensional, that'll take away that running game from the quarterback position. And if we can do that, I think we'll have a successful day.
All righty. Their coach, Mike Elko. Yeah, he was a defensive coordinator at Texas A&M before coming to Duke.
Yeah, the D-line coach for Duke was my high school coach. So,
okay.
They will be a sound defense, at least from the defensive line perspective, because that was what we were in high school. It was gap sound, everybody in your gap. If everybody's doing the right spot, there's nowhere the offense can do. I think they'll be a sound defense, fundamentally sound defense, like you said.
That's an interesting connection when you're yeah, it's cool.
Yep.
Very cool. All right, well, you see our ESPN and I'm not real happy with this matchup predictor anymore. They actually give us 56.9 and them 43.1, so we're a little bit better. But then the consensus pick has Duke -3. So Duke is we're a 3-point underdog in this game, which UCF usually likes to be the underdog. That makes us happy. It'll be interesting because they do seem to be pretty evenly matched stat-wise, big time, actually. And then, we have had a little trouble with those running quarterbacks. So if this guy continues to run like he has been,
that could give us some problems. Just very
could
true.
give us some problems. All they have to do is just run the ball against us. So,
we'll have some. I'm assuming we'll have some young guys out there too. Just everywhere, to be honest. Just with some of the losses, and there'll be some guys that might not have been getting.
Who do you think we see at middle linebacker?
I think it'll be what's his name? I forget. I think it's not 15. It's
Jason Johnson.
Jason Johnson and Jason Johnson is 27, correct?
Jason Johnson, I believe, is 15.
He's 15. Okay, and then 27. I think those are the two we'll probably see, most likely.
I bet we will probably see our freshman Cam.
Cam Moore, too. He's going to get some work in.
Definitely get in there.
I'm also interested to see what Devad is doing. Is he playing in this game? Is he training? I haven't really followed.
I think he's training to try for the NFL.
Yeah, but Gus, when Gus was asked the other day, when Gus was asked if anybody was sitting out the bowl game, he said that he didn't think that there was going to be anyone that was sitting out.
Okay.
So,
that's good.
Yeah, we shall see about that. But
another interesting thing on that note, the NCAA actually put a 1-year rule exception in place so that folks that are transferring, it would not count as a eligible game if they played in the bowl game. So Mikey Keene could conceivably, if he was needed, play. I doubt he will.
No, he's already in the transfer portal. He's
no, I know that. Yeah, but even if he's in the transfer portal, he could still play and not.
If you're in the transfer portal, you're done. Yeah, they're gone already. If they're in the portal, they're out off the team. They're done.
Okay, I thought they could still play even in the portal.
They're done.
No, I think it's more so like, say a kid plays in this game and it's their fourth game or fifth. Basically, it doesn't count
for sure.
Yeah, not Mikey Keene though. He's done.
Now and then after you can transfer and keep your eligibility. I know that was a big question with people like.
No, once you're in the portal, you're in the portal.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're done.
You've stepped through the portal.
Yep.
You disappeared.
Yep.
I don't think he will play regardless. I don't think it would be smart just because we, like we said, we knew he was going to leave about halfway through the season just because it didn't make sense.
And if he didn't play in the championship game, he's sure as hell not playing in a bowl game.
It makes sense for him to play. Yeah,
there's no way.
It never made sense. Yeah. And even from his perspective, like why risk getting hurt for a bowl game? And you want to be, if you get hurt, then you're kind of screwing yourself both ways. You're leaving and you're going to go somewhere and you're going to be hurt. Like you don't help yourself. So
yeah. Well,
it'll be interesting to see how well JRP's hammy has.
I hope he hasn't been.
He says he's feeling fine in the interview that I saw the other day. So
I saw feeling better, not fine. So
okay, well, better, fine.
And the reason I say that is, are we going to see the pocket passing JRP, or is he going to be able to use his legs like we're used to seeing? You know what I mean?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I make that distinction.
Although, he did fairly well as a pocket passer as well. Better than I thought he was going to. So, I don't know.
He did enough
like
to win
I
that
said,
game.
yes, like I said, I have a lot more respect for him than I did. Still not horribly excited if he's the starter for next year. I don't know. This is just
that's where I'm at. I'm at a wait and see.
Well, it'll be interesting too with Timmy McClain. You mentioned his name quite a few times.
Yeah, I hope Timmy McClain shows up in the spring and really does his thing personally.
Because he's had most of the season to get used to Gus's system, right, and learn the system and do all that stuff. So. I mean, if
He
anybody's
said the whole season. He got here in the spring, right?
Did he?
Or the
No, I think he came
right before. Right before the
camp.
season. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's been on the scout team the entire time.
So he's it's a kind of a weird case where it's someone who transferred and counts for this year, but he's had a whole season to learn the offense. And most often when you got folks come in and do that, they don't have the whole season to learn the offense.
I don't know if he's on the scout team. I don't know how much work he's actually doing with Gus's offense.
That's true.
Just from my experience.
But he's been around it in the team meetings and all that stuff, though.
Yeah, now if he's meeting with the quarterbacks every day with like as if he were traveling, then okay, that I get it. But as far as
he'd be
scout
crazy
team,
not to if he's trying to win the job. Because that'd be
that'd be the smart thing to do.
So still in the transfer portal on 24/7, their transfer portal thing is. I mean, I love Rivals. I'm a Rivals guy, but 24/7 definitely has the transfer portal down a little bit better. He's still listed as pending appeal for eligibility, which is interesting, even though he's been here for a year already, and he counts for this year. So I don't know what he was trying to do with eligibility. Yeah, and maybe that's why he sat out the entire year and didn't actually, play or something, and that's why he counts for this year. I'm not sure what the deal was with that. So
that's a good catch because all the rest of them were immediate. I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, I've been looking at that all year, like kind of waiting for that to change and everything. And so he came in 8/15 of 22 is when he entered the portal, and he came directly here from the portal. So another interesting date though on this, and the Antonio Greer is listed as committed on 11/28. So that's a little bit interesting. So that was before the season was over, and a lot earlier than that was announced.
Yeah.
So that was kind of going on before things happened. Do we know anything about this? Did we talk about this kid from? Oh yeah, we did. The kid from Texas State. Did we talk about him?
We didn't really.
We touched on him just because I saw the correlation.
But
not about physically him or individually.
Yeah, 6'1", 180 from Texas State.
He was
corner or safety.
Yeah, he was. I think by PFF, I read he was rated like 78 for the year. So
pretty good.
He played really well for Texas State, and he's got good size on him. And he was only a 2-star coming out of high school, but seemed to play really, really well for Texas State this year. So hoping that translates. I haven't really seen any film on him, but if PFF is rating him that high, that's not easy to do. That's one of their higher grades.
Yeah. Okay. Do we want to transition to basketball? Unfortunately, Ben is not here, but traveling with his family for the holidays. I know you put some basketball stuff in the. I guess we talked enough about Duke. We're going to give our
we're going to give our picks, but there's not really much else to say other than they're a pretty sound team. Like I said, they've been sound. They're one of those teams that when they lose, they've lost typically by 3 points.
Yeah.
So that's a hallmark of a team that plays really sound football. Watch some of their stuff. They don't make many mistakes. They don't make many turnovers. So it's going to be one of those teams that, we're going to have to be on point or just blow out the lead and play to win and keep our foot on the gas pedal as opposed to just sitting back and trying to go and, wait for them.
All right. The last bowl game of the evening is over, I guess. So that's kind of a bummer.
What was the score?
I didn't catch it, but Toledo won. It was Toledo and
Liberty.
It was the Boca Raton Bowl, and it's over. And I'm trying to find something to watch here on the TV over here. I always hate it because there's like one bowl game on certain nights. At least there was a bowl game on a Tuesday night. I'm happy with that. But yeah, wish there was more. There's a lot of basketball on it. I'm not a huge basketball guy, but Roger, you like basketball. Now, I'm a little bit upset with my guys for giving up that last second shot that was taken by. I'm not going to say what I normally call that team.
Miss you.
Something like that, yeah. Not a fan at all of that Missouri team, period. Anybody that I always say this. So I'm from Kansas City, and to get to St. Louis, you have to go right past Columbia, Missouri on the highway. And for most people, it would be a good spot to stop.
Mm-hmm.
I won't even stop and pee in Columbia, Missouri.
Ooh.
That's how much I hate Columbia, Missouri, and Mizzou. So won't even stop there. So what happened with that? They played a fairly decent game, and then last second.
Yeah,
right?
they played a really good game. So one of the things with this team, and we've kind of been talking about it all season, is in years past, our teams have had a tendency to kind of wilt down the stretch. If they got down, they got a little crazy. They started turning the ball over because they were trying to push, or they'd get lazy in their half court offense. And this team's not like that. This team has a lot of grit when they get down, which they did in this game. It was 51-37 at one point. UCF, was pretty much playing with them and actually had the lead early on. And then, the Tigers are really, or the Mizzou misuse, whatever.
No, I was shaking my head because I just saw I hadn't seen the crazy shot yet.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing it for the first time because, wow.
I mean, there's not really much our guys could have done about that.
That was a miracle. The dude rolled the ball across the floor.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, our defender collapsed. He got to the ball. And honestly, there's a question on whether that was a travel or not, because anytime that happens and you're on the floor and you're doing that and you pass the ball like that, it's technically a travel.
Yeah.
So I just think the refs didn't think that they were going to make the shot anyway and just didn't call it. And then, kind of got to the half court. A little bit between the half court and the 3-point line, and the guy just chucked it up and hit the backboard, dead center, and it went in the last second. And we were up by 1 at that point. We actually had the possession before that. Tried to burn clock. There was about 9 seconds left. We shot up a 3 that went in and out. Reminds me of Duke. Went in and out, and when it went out, it went far enough out that it went almost out to the 3-point line. They got the rebound, which gave them an extra few seconds. We got the guy. We stopped the guy. He fell to the ground, rolls the ball. The guy chucks it up, and they win by 2 because it's a 3-pointer. So it was pure luck. That's the only reason that they won that game. And this team has played every really good. This was a quadrant 1 game. Every quadrant 1 game really well. This Missouri team is 10-1. And the games that we lost, I mean, you look at it, you had the Miami game, which came down to the last possession. And that was weird. I was there for that game where it kind of went out of bounds, and I learned something new where they don't stop the clock till the ball actually hits the ground when it goes out of bounds, not when it crosses the boundary. And then we had the double overtime loss, last second overtime loss. So, this team has beaten Oklahoma State, has beaten FSU.
Ole Miss was a really good win.
Was a really good win. They went way up, and Ole Miss came back, and then we battled back and won that game. This game we were down 51-37 with 13:42 left. Brought it all the way back, and then we just ended up losing on that last second shot. We were down 64-60 with 2:29 left. They had possession. They went up. Then we hit a 3. Ithiel Horton, who's been pretty consistent this season, hit a 3, and it was 65-63. And then that last Taylor Hendricks made a three-pointer with 54 seconds left. And we went up 66-65, got the steal, got the possession, and they just Hail Married it. So,
Trey, are you a basketball guy at all?
Oh yeah, I love watching it. I don't follow it as obviously as in depth as I do football, but I do enjoy watching basketball.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Sadly, I don't get the UCF games down here unless they're ESPN2.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm just not too much of a basketball guy, so I always struggle during this when we talk about basketball, and a lot of times I just would kind of sit back and let everybody else talk about it. So I was like, join in if you want to talk about basketball. I do know that they
know exactly too much about UCF.
Yeah, but I do know that they play tomorrow night, 7:00 against Stetson. That's kind of cool.
Against our old coach.
Yeah, Donnie Jones.
Donnie Jones
coming back to UCF because it's a home game for UCF. So.
And they actually have a pretty good squad this year too. They knocked off a Power 5 team or two early on in the season as well. So I didn't do too much homework on them, but they had a good start to the season, and it'll be an interesting one to say the least. But I think the difference with this team too. Just the length and it's not 3 or 4 players that we're relying on every game, whereas before that was the case. We have plenty of contributors, and remember, C.J. Walker's still out. He's not even playing. The big thing that I noticed, though, going back to this Mizzou game and the Ole Miss game, Darius Johnson has been absolutely dominant on the floor, right? And then he started playing against these two teams. And what's different is he can't rely simply on his ability to get in the lane, drive the paint, and make a score. So he's having to learn how to, against these better teams, this is going to be really good against Houston because Houston's a great defensive team, how to distribute. So when he gets frustrated or in a mode, they're bringing Jalen Young in, who actually started the season for Darius Johnson, and is more of a facilitator as a 1-2 punch. So we have the ability not to be, in football we talk about being one-dimensional. We have the ability not to be one-dimensional, and we can play multiple sets. We can either we have a good three-point shot, so we can play outside, we can go inside out. We've got point guards that can either distribute or they can drive the paint. So depending on what, the defense is giving us, this team has the ability offensively to score, and that wasn't always the case in the past. You think about Taco Fall, think about those teams with BJ Taylor could drive the paint, but if Taco was injured or out, and he was frequently, or just tired because he was so big, we lost that offensive capability. And we have shooters, we have guys that can drive the paint, we have guys that can do the extra pass, and that's what's making this team really good. And Taylor Hendricks, he's the first player in AAC history to be named Freshman of the Week for 4 consecutive weeks.
Yeah.
That guy is a special player, shooting 50% for the season.
Well, it sounds like a Big 12 player, and he'll be in the Big 12 next year. So.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll see. So yeah, Stetson, they're not so good. They're 5-5, and they've lost. Did you mention that they've lost? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have lost 5 out of their last 7.
Yeah,
so
they had
something
a hard
has
start.
been. They beat Florida State. They beat the Cows. They beat Rider. Then they lost to Niagara, Campbell. They won against Johnson University in Florida. I have no idea what Johnson University is. That's like DeVry or something, like one of those
online schools.
It's an online school that has a basketball team, I guess, and because it's like on ESPN, if you know that you can't click on the team, like if the name isn't even in blue, that's a link. That's pretty small. Especially in basketball.
It's out of Kissimmee, Florida.
Is it really?
Yep. It's a private, nonprofit 4-year university out of Kissimmee, Florida.
Okay, well, the other one that you can't click on their schedule was Weber International, and they won against them, too. They won against Johnson University and Weber. Yeah, they lost at Florida, Charleston, Ohio, Niagara, and Campbell. The Campbell Camels. I mean, like, that is the greatest logo and team mascot. If you haven't ever seen it, the women's
team played them too.
Yeah, if you haven't ever seen their logo, that is my favorite logo of any college sports team.
Weber is out of Babson Park, Florida. I've never even heard of that.
Oh, it's another Florida school that I didn't know existed. Wow. Okay. I'm sure there's somebody that went there or something that.
It's in Polk County.
Well,
there you go.
I'm not even going there. I'm not going there. You know who also has a really cool logo that's in the same realm as Campbell?
Who?
Kennesaw State. I like their little KS. It's like it's just a cool little logo. It's like a K and the S is interwoven into the K.
Yep.
I think that's a cool logo. Anyway.
Another Owls team.
Yeah. There's lots of owls.
Lots of owls.
Okay. I guess it is time probably. Anything else that we need to talk about before we get into the Tijuana Flats hot take of the week?
Just that they're 8-3, and then after this next game, they're going to be into conference play against Wichita State at home. So Wichita State's a good defensive team again this year. We have, I don't believe we've beaten them at their place, but we beat them at home. So we're in third place in the AAC, which is a surprise. We were supposed to be fifth, I believe, is what we were picked to be. So, and honestly, we could have been higher than that. So.
Pleasantly surprised about this team, to be honest with you. They definitely have some heart.
30th ranked defense in the country.
Yeah, that's good. They definitely, I'm pleasantly surprised by them. They need to, conference play is always a completely different thing than the rest of it. So
yeah, we got Memphis. They're ranked pretty high. Houston's number
3 now.
Yep. So, those two teams are going to be our competition.
Memphis doesn't say that they're in the top 25 here. So,
I don't know where they're at now. They were. But either way.
Only ranked team in there in the conference looks like Houston.
Well, Houston and Memphis are going to be the two teams that we have to play through if we want to make it. Now, the one thing is we had a really good, I think we're around 50-58 as far as the RPI is concerned. If we would have won the Mizzou game, we pretty much would have had 4 or 5 games that we could have lost to play into the conference tournament. So we kind of lose one there as an at-large because everybody, I think, is assuming Houston's going to win our conference. So Houston's going to be tough. Memphis is going to be tough. Those are going to be our biggest nemesis this year for making and roadblocks for making the tournament.
Yeah, Memphis would be 6th out of the top 25.
There you go.
So getting votes for sure. Then they are first in the American at this point, I guess. I guess everybody's first in the American because they haven't had any American games, right?
They have not. No conference games yet.
It just said first in the American. I'm like, what? And then, everybody's first in the American. We're first in the American, too. All right, Houston, man, they're up there in the rankings, though, number 3. They were number 1 at one point, right?
Yes, they were.
That's crazy.
You see another former American team in there as well, UConn. It seems to be.
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, their basketball program was down for a long time, and it seems like they're recovering now.
They've always been a basketball school.
Definitely not a football school.
I guess they're didn't one of our guys transfer there
to UConn?
Oh no! It was Eric Gilliard that went to that transferred from UCF to Kansas.
Yep.
And then now he's transferring again
to UConn.
From Kansas to UConn. Talk about a downgrade. Like, that's a huge I mean, admittedly, Kansas at one point was a downgrade. I don't know if they are anymore. But from Kansas, I mean, he didn't start at Kansas. He played. He did pretty well. But, I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't know what the deal is. I mean, there has to be something going on there, though. If anybody who transfers more than once, I think there must be something behind the scenes going.
I mean, you remember
that's odd,
right, Trey? I mean,
yeah, that's
a little weird.
Odd to transfer more than once.
More than once, and then
even just as
to transfer downgrade twice.
Yeah,
and he wasn't a bad player.
Yeah, exactly.
He was a 4-star out of high school.
It's weird because when you're a good player and you're transferring twice, more than once, they're like, all right, what's going on? Like,
yeah.
Are you having off the field issues? Something like that's just natural.
Maybe academic issue. I don't know either. I'm not gonna say anything like that. I'm just saying there must be something that we don't know that's going on, because I remember him. His last year here did not play nearly as much as the year before, but he was a big part of it. And so something had to have happened, and I hope he gets whatever it is straightened out, because good dude and a good football player. So anyway, I just, when you said UConn, I was like, wait, somebody transferred to UConn. Did we, I guess we never really even said where our guys transferred. Did we talk about that? We were talking about transfer. Ryan O'Keefe, Boston College, which I understand a bit.
He followed his wide receiver coach. But I believe that he is a med school guy. I believe that he's going to go medical, and I'm almost positive that was he was the guy that was a med school guy. And Boston College has a really great med school.
Yep.
So I'm thinking maybe that had something to do with that, plus wide receiver coach being there. Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste to Ole Miss, which is kind of odd, personally, but whatever. SEC, that's good. Step up for him. And then Brown, I think, was it Brown?
Yeah, to Miami.
Yeah, he's from Miami anyway, right?
Yeah, they were supposed to be throwing money. They were supposed to have been throwing money at him, trying to entice him to go last year, and he didn't. So
that's right. I forget that there's money tossing these days.
Yep.
Money tossing.
That sucks.
Yep. And then, I guess now that we know T. Will leaving, that could be a reason too with some of these guys.
Well, I heard the opposite with Jeremiah, that he didn't get along with him very well.
Well, that's the one that caught me way off guard, and that's the one where I was sitting there going, this is weird. And then after all this transpired, that's probably why. So that's
Tatum
what I'm
Bethune
thinking.
Didn't
anyway.
like him either. That's why he transferred.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was probably trying to get ahead of it. And then again, I think that's where it's like, well, you don't really know what T. Will was doing or saying behind these closed doors,
Exactly.
Like, because if Jeremiah thinking, I can't deal with this guy another year, I need to leave, then that means he didn't know that T. Will was looking for jobs or trying to find jobs, which means
that's true.
Really nobody else probably was either.
Yeah, so who knows?
I don't know. We'll never get the truth, but it's just interesting to kind of follow it.
Well, it's interesting that he entered the transfer portal around the time that Auburn filled their coordinator job.
Well, he was in the transfer portal like right after the championship.
It was that Monday.
Yeah.
Mikey Keenan was the first one, and then like him and the other guys were right there with
O'Keefe, Baptiste, and Brown. I remember that because we talked about it later that day.
Did you guys expect more in the transfer portal?
I did, actually. I expected a couple more. I'm kind of surprised that there's not more. And then, there's a couple other guys that we really never mentioned that are in there as well. I got to get back to my page because
those are the big name.
Yeah,
starters.
I mean, there's guys. Yeah, Gatewood is in there again, I guess. Which that'll be his second transfer. Jordan Johnson's in there, which never even saw the field, I don't think, maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
He was a 5-star out of high school, Notre Dame transfer that came across. And And
yeah, even to me that like that. I don't know the kid.
Trayvon
but
Shadrick Harris, corner. Don't remember him really. Terrence Lewis, who never saw the field for us, who was the 5-star that came from Maryland. That was supposed to be the best linebacker in his high school class, the number 1 linebacker, that never was hurt. And then
that's going to be his second one too.
Right. It will be his second one as well. Yeah, there's a couple guys actually. So we're talking about those.
Yeah, like to me, those the guys that are like 5-star guys that are transferring once or twice. That's like, I don't know exactly, but those are like red flags. Like I don't know why you're not playing when you're that highly touted out of high school.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't make sense.
Understandably, this guy was hurt, and he had I think he tore an ACL or something like that, so he was pretty, banged up for a while, but that's why he didn't play at Maryland his freshman season. He's got 4 years left. He came here, though, and obviously either wasn't able to recover or lost a step,
That's huge.
Yeah. So probably a little bit of both there.
Yeah.
So hopefully, it's interesting. You look back, like I said, I look back at the transfer portal and look back at everything else. There's guys that go into the transfer portal and they don't have a home. After this, and that's one of those things where you kind of have to think about, what you're doing here.
Exactly.
Who was it last year? There was a couple people. Parker Navarro got a gig. He went to Ohio. Cole Joyce, linebacker from us, never found anything. Who was the other one? Demarius Good, which was a pretty good running back, never got a spot last year. There was somebody else that was. Who was it? Somebody.
Yeah, I mean, at
there
that
was
point,
somebody
you just
last
have to be a
year
walk-on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of guys that Devontae Dawson was a corner. He didn't get a gig last year. There was somebody else that I was really surprised, though. I don't remember.
But I mean, even like you're saying, like, yeah, you don't even know if you're going to play football again, but you're giving up a full scholarship. Like, even if you don't ever touch the field ever again, you can at minimum, get your college paid for and go, like, I don't know. I don't think kids are really seeing it all the way through as they should with just hopping in the portal just because again, it's oversaturated.
I know who it was from last year that's really surprised me. Bentavious Thompson, like never,
Really?
He was at Oklahoma.
Oh, was he? Okay. It says in the portal that he never was anywhere. So they never officially put him there, I guess.
Yeah, I think I saw
Ahmed
he was at
didn't either.
Oklahoma.
That surprised me.
Yeah, I do see him at Oklahoma. I don't know did he play this year? I
didn't see him play.
Yeah,
but
I
mean that would make sense with the offensive. The first UCF offensive coordinator was the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma. I forget his name. With Heupel, Heupel's first guy.
Geez.
Levy,
yeah, Jeff Levy. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but anyway, I mean, there's always some guys though that put themselves in. It's kind of like you're flipping a coin almost, unless you're going someplace. It's kind of like when players go to declare for the draft early.
Yep,
and don't get drafted. It's like somebody gave them bad advice one way or the other, or they made a bad decision going for the draft, and then there's a lot of players that leave early for the draft and don't get drafted, and don't even wind up on a practice squad or anything else. So, unfortunately, that's just
I'm surprised we haven't heard anything about Mikey, honestly.
Well, it sounded like, I don't know. There's an interesting situation there that we really haven't ever talked about with him. We might as well. We're into this. So he, I guess, has been dating Terry Mahajer's daughter, who is at Kansas.
Yep.
Yeah, because Terry Mahajer's family was raised there in Kansas, so in Overland Park, Kansas, which is about 50 minutes away from University of Kansas. So that's kind of interesting. And somebody on one of the boards or whatever said that, he's going to transfer to Kansas to be with his girlfriend. He'll start immediately. No, he won't, by the way. I can tell you that right now. Like, if he transfers there, he won't be the starter.
That running quarterback you have is coming back, isn't he?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that sat out pretty much all year because he was injured. Yeah, we have our quarterback for the next couple of years because I think he's a junior or a sophomore, but I think he's got at least 2 years left. So yeah, and then Arizona took the one Arizona school took a quarterback from, was it Notre Dame or one of those places? So one of the spots where I thought I thought he would wind up back at either Arizona or Arizona State, but one of those jobs just got taken by somebody that we hadn't thought about, I guess.
Yeah, ex-Notre Dame quarterback Drew Pine went to Arizona State.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we'll see. And, we'll all find out when it happens, I guess. All right. Time for Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week.
I'm Jeff Allen. Join me each and every week on the Knightline Sports Network for the AAC Report. We bring you in-depth coverage of each school in football, basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, golf, tennis, and more, as well as bring you insider interviews and focus in on the biggest games and news of the week. That's all right here each week on the AAC Report, only on the Knightline Sports Network.
Welcome to the Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. Visit TijuanaFlats.com for takeout or delivery, or visit your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone. All right, Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. This is where we're continuing to do our predictions for scores now that we have a game coming up. Last week we just did a hot take. I think my hot take, what was it?
The 5-star.
We're getting our 5-star. I haven't seen that guy come across yet. Hopefully tomorrow there will be somebody that we flip or something, some mystery guy that comes out and makes my Tijuana Flats hot take of the week.
Honestly, like a few days ago, I thought you might have had it in the bag there because, even UCF was staff were trolling the C4.
Yeah, who knows what that was all about. Something weird was going on. I'm not sure.
Cedric Baxter.
They were blowing smoke. Everybody was blowing smoke. I think that it was just a thing that got started, a little internet rumor thing got started, and then people just started running with it.
But the fact that UCF staff was in there stirring the pot was the crazy part.
I think that's funny though. Yeah. Good for them. They probably saw it and they're like, what the, I think KZ was the one that actually started the rumor too. So that's a little bit weird. But whatever. It was all in good fun, I think. I think everybody, especially the members of the dungeon, were all just looking and looking and looking and waiting. Nothing ever happened. I think it
was 30 pages within 6 hours.
So if you're not on there, if something gets to 30 pages, period, of comments and whatever, that's a pretty good thread on there.
1,001 comments to get to the 30th page.
And it was just going, and it's probably way more than that. I haven't looked to see, how much that thread actually got up to, but that's a big one when it gets that high, and it was hilarious. So, all right. Anyway, Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. Roger, why don't you start us off?
All right. I'm really not trying to win or win or lose or whatever you want to say, the steak challenge. It's going to be a close game for me. I'm going to say UCF will win this game 38-21.
38-21. All righty. Trey.
I'm going to think that UCF, I think it'll be a little closer. I'm going to say 35-24.
Okay. All righty. 35-24.
Do you want me to put Ben out there next?
Yeah. What was Ben's?
Ben had a UCF win, of course, with a 33-28 score.
Okay. All right. We're all, I think, because I was going somewhere in there, so I'm going to go 38-24 UCF. 38-24. So we're all kind of together on our situation there. So we shall see, I guess. I mean, I think between you and Trey,
I was ahead by a few points.
You were ahead, but
yeah, I'm trying to let Trey or Ben or somebody points on the paper's sake.
Well, we'll see what actually happens.
No, but look, I think we're all, after we kind of looked through that recap, I'm sure Ben looked at some stuff too. I mean, the over-under, I think, was 61. So I think both teams scoring around 34 points a game. We're all going to be within the threshold. For me, it's just going to be whether we get out to a fast start or not. If we do, then I think it'll be higher scoring game for us. So that's what I'm going with.
I don't care what the score is, to be honest with you. I just hope we win. I think that would be really good momentum. Winning a bowl game, even though this isn't the most glamorous bowl game, but it is. The greatest thing about it is that it supports the military. So I like that military bowl and the military theme, that it's in Annapolis, which is just a cool place in general.
We'll get a good flyover. That'd be
cool. Get a good flyover, yeah. So, I'm a big supporter of the military and all that stuff. So
I'm just hoping we win, just because it's going to be really cold, and it would make it that much better if we won.
Yeah, and then I'm sure for players, I'm sure a lot of them had their sights set on the Cotton Bowl or whatever. But just getting to a bowl game in today's college football is a big deal.
It is.
Oh yeah.
I don't care. Look at my team, Kansas. First bowl game since 2008. You think we're bitching about what bowl game we're going to? Absolutely freaking not.
Which bowl game are you going to, by the way?
The Liberty Bowl.
Okay.
And we're playing, it's the game right after the UCF game.
I'll be on a plane, so.
Yeah, and we're playing Arkansas. So.
That's a good matchup.
Yeah.
I mean, good quality team, too.
Yep. Just to even be in a bowl game after all these. That's a long time.
Well, we have to start rooting for Kansas now because it's Big 12 versus SEC. So
that's right. So I expect everybody that's listening to root for Kansas, unless you have some connection to Arkansas.
Oh, you're going to be in some conflict in these next few years.
Well, that is exactly the point. Yeah, that is exactly the point of. That's probably why I'm going to at least lessen my. Impact on the podcast. That's one of the reasons. So we'll see. I still haven't decided what I'm totally doing yet. So
yeah,
we shall see. We'll see. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so that's like when it was announced that we were going to the Big 12, and I'm happy for UCF. Obviously, I'm a huge UCF fan. Obviously, or I wouldn't have done this for 9 years if I wasn't.
Exactly.
But Kansas is my alma mater, and it's like I don't even want to think about UCF and Kansas playing each other in football. I don't even want to think about it.
Imagine for a Big 12 championship.
Well, that's not going to happen.
Like I'm going to go the first time to Kansas, especially when UCF plays Kansas at Kansas the first time. I'm going to go. And I'm going to have to do
Didn't
some
we say
kind
we're going
of
to do a torn jersey?
Yeah,
thing?
I'm probably gonna have like a jersey of one team and a hat of the other, or something like that. So it's just UCF is my wife's alma mater. I just happen to love UCF football, and it being where I live and close, and I just fell in love with the whole freaking thing, and. I do have some conflict though when it comes to that, and
you went there.
And
you played there.
It's my alma mater. Yeah, it's totally different thing. So, not that I'm not gonna. I mean, it'll be very, very difficult when they play each other in anything. So, And as a sports fan, that is the absolute worst thing that can happen, in my opinion. When your two teams, one being your alma mater and one being your adopted, team, get into the same conference. Obviously, I was always rooting for UCF to get into some Power 5 conference. I just did not really want it to be the Big 12. Or I was hoping when the whole thing was happening and they were talking about Kansas moving to the Big East or whatever, or the Big 10, I was like, yes, go, please. Because it would have been perfect. So, yeah, I'm not happy about this situation. So it makes my life a little bit difficult. Tears on the heartstrings on both sides. So, But anyway. It is what it is. Okay, news and notes next. And now, news and notes from the world of UCF sports. All right, the UCF women's basketball team defeated Idaho State today, 67-50, after falling 99-64 to Tennessee. They led most of the first half and were within 1 point starting the second half. They're 7-3 and will next play Elon at home tomorrow/today at 12 p.m. Good luck, ladies.
The Big 12 conference schedule release has been pushed out until February, as rumors of a negotiated exit for Oklahoma and Texas for 2024 have gained steam over the last week. Originally, each school was going to play both before their exit in 2025, but now that looks like to be it's in jeopardy.
All right, congratulations to McKenna Melville, who added first-team All-American to her list of many honors and accomplishments. This is the first time in program history that we have had a first-team All-American on our team. Congratulations.
All right, and congratulations to Knightline's own Ben Stout. Actually, his nephew Jake, who played in the FBU Freshman All-American game. Jake continues to show his athletic prowess, and we hope he dons the black and gold as his uncle did one of these days. By the way, he already has an offer from UCF.
Wow.
So, as a freshman in high school, he's a defensive end. And he's really good for a freshman. Good. And I don't know. Oh, by the way, I'm not even going to say that.
I'll say something. Oh, by the way, Houday, not Tampa Bay.
Well, I have no idea what that even means. So isn't Houday the Saints
Cincinnati
thing?
Fancy, yeah.
I thought it was the Saints thing.
No, they have Houdat. We have Houday.
Oh, you're. Yeah, you're kind of biting off of them.
No, it's the other way around.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
It was.
Oh, I don't like Cincinnati, by the way.
That's all right. We beat Tampa. That was the point. That's Ben's team, so I had to throw that in there this week. Sorry, Ben.
And I was actually, for the very first time since Tom Brady has been a Tampaite, I was actually rooting for Tampa Bay this week because my Chiefs needed the AFC to, any team in the AFC to lose. Anyway, all right, this has been Knightline 286. I'm Andrew Fegley.
And I'm Roger Phipps.
And I'm Trey Neal.
Go Knights.
Charge on.
UCF, charge on to the field. With our spirits, we'll never yield. Black and gold, charge right through the line. Victory is our cry. BSCTO, tonight.